everyone, welcome back to my channel, Single Mother by Choice. My name is Martine. Sorry for last weekend. I really just wasn't feeling well, and I was exhausted. So, for me, I love YouTube, but my physical, mental, emotional health always comes first. My daughter always comes first. So, I just wasn't up to making a video, and I was hoping to get one done during the week, but again, life happens, and there's some things going on, personal things going on in my family that just took mental, emotional space, and I just wasn't ready to get in front of a camera. But things have been moving and changing and progressing, so I wanted to definitely update you for this weekend. I will be releasing 2 videos this weekend, so this will be the first, and then the second one I'll probably release tomorrow, Sunday. I think it's very important. So the video coming out tomorrow is like a follow-up to the PSA that I did for Single Mothers by Choice. If you didn't see that, make sure to check that out first so you get the full story of what happened. But there is a follow-up that, again, I'm always learning something. There's always something new that someone shares with me or that I just learn through going through the process, and I want to share that with you so that you're informed. I think it's so important that we help each other stay informed, stay connected, and this is why I'm so happy I have this channel. I mean, it was so amazing what happened. Whatever, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anymore, but definitely check out the second video I'm releasing tomorrow. It's a follow-up to the PSA that I did for Single Mothers by Choice. So I'll link the first video here, and then make sure to check out the second follow-up video tomorrow. With that being said, well, first, also, I want to welcome any new subscribers. Again, I'm on my second journey to having baby number 2. And things are slightly different this time from the first time. So if you are new to my channel and you haven't followed up and watched some of my older videos as I went through the first, journey to getting my daughter, please check that out, because there are things that are different. And if you have questions as you watch those videos, let me know. I love hearing, and that's the other thing, participation has gone up in terms of people reaching out privately and on the comments below. I really appreciate, I love hearing from people, because again, I love connecting with people. I also love learning from people. I've gotten tips and just a lot of information, and just also a lot of support, which I appreciate, and I love to reciprocate. So keep in touch. I will link my social media, my email, everything below. So whichever way you feel comfortable reaching out, please do. I love hearing from everybody. So with that being said, let's get into today's video where I share my progress, what's been going on with cycle 1 of journey number 2. All right, so where we left off last was that I had an appointment with my reproductive endocrinologist to get started with my day 3 appointment. And day 3, if you don't know, is when you start your cycle, when you start your period. Day 3, typically you have an appointment so that they can do a sonogram, transvaginal sonogram, and they also do blood work. At least that's how my clinic works. I don't know if anybody else is different, but that's how my doctor operates. And so I went in for the transvaginal, which is always such a good time. I don't know if some of you remember, if you've watched or if you haven't watched, but I have an ovary on the right side that just floats away, it's just out there. And so it's actually really painful for me to get the transvaginal ultrasound, because they have to really, this is graphic, sorry, TMI, but welcome to my channel, TMI. But they really have to push against the uterus or the uterine wall, and so to be able to see the ovary and to see if there are any cysts or anything like that, make sure it's healthy. And it happens again when you go back for monitoring. They want to check how many follicles you have, how big they are, etc. So every single time I go in, I have to get a transvaginal ultrasound, and it's so painful. Yeah, painful because there's so much pressure. I'm like, well, it feels more like pressure, but it's like a lot of pressure. And I also have to like push down on my abdomen in that area, and I have to like hold my breath. It's this whole thing I have to do. And the last time I went, the girl was like, I shouldn't say girl, the woman who does the ultrasound said, oh, we'll do one like a regular ultrasound, like up top, you know, like when you are pregnant and you get a typical ultrasound on your abdomen. And I was like, oh, great. But then it never happened. And I don't know why I didn't say anything. Again, I have this problem sometimes speaking up, but at that point they were busy and I just wanted to get it over with. I know what I have to do. I know what I'm in for. So I just braced myself and whatever, I dealt with it. But anyway, so the first appointment went well. And that day the doctor prescribed Clomid for me. And he prescribed Gonal-F, which I guess is something that helps stimulate, again, your follicles, your eggs, and helps them grow. So, I don't know if you all also remember my first cycle. I almost didn't get the Clomid because of the pharmacy. So the doctor put in the prescription. I was waiting, never heard back from the pharmacy. So I'm like, oh, let me call and see when I can pick it up. And they're like, oh yeah, we ran out, sorry. I'm like, are you kidding? And the lady was so rude, and I had to like call all these different pharmacies to see if they could transfer the prescription over to a different CVS. And whatever, it worked out, but it was a hot mess. I'll also link that video. It was such a hot mess and people were so rude, but I did find like an angel who helped me out. So this time I said, I'm not going through that again. I learned my lesson. So the minute I left the doctor's office, I waited an hour or two, but pretty much right after, I called the pharmacy to check, and guess what? They didn't have it. They didn't have what I needed, the amount that I needed. So they couldn't fill the prescription. I'm like, well, why don't you people call me and say such a, I mean, it's like an important thing, especially because I was supposed to start that night. So I'm like, oh, here we go again. And thank God this time they were really polite, and the woman actually looked for me instead of hanging up on me like last time. She actually looked for me at the different CVS pharmacies and was able to find one in my town that had the prescription I needed. Now, I could have stopped there and been like, oh, great, thanks, which I did thank her and I appreciated it. But maybe a couple hours later, again, I called. I said, I'm not going through this. So I called and I asked, hey, you know, did you receive my prescription for Clomid? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have Clomid here. Excuse me? Because I was just told by another pharmacy that they looked and you do have it available. And she's like, oh, give me a minute. And then she went back, looked, and saw that indeed they had enough to fill my particular prescription. So I was like, yeah, that's right. You better check yourself. I mean, thank God, you know, again, speaking up is like important. I don't speak up sometimes, but this time I was like, I'm not going through this. And especially, I'm paying a lot of money. As this is not like last time where my insurance was footing a lot of the financial responsibility. I'm fully responsible for this cycle, and if it's delayed, I've already spent all this money. I'm not doing that. And with the Gonal-F, I was able to start that also on time. Thank the Lord. So that was good. So I was able to pick that up and everything was fine. So I was prescribed to take the Clomid for 5 days every night, and the Gonal-F every other night. Now, me, who's usually pretty on top of things, I went into the portal, which is where they send you the instructions for what you need to do with my clinic. That's just how they do it. They go over it with you in the office, but they send you written instructions in the portal. So I went into the portal. I'm like, yeah, we went over this, blah, blah, blah. Well, I did not read it carefully. And so I did follow the instructions for the Clomid, but for the Gonal-F, I was supposed to take it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. But I only took it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I thought, well, you know, that's like over the course of 5 days. I did it every other day. No, I was supposed to take it a fourth day and then go back that Monday to check and make sure like everything is progressing as it's supposed to be. So when I'm with the doctor and he's going over, oh, you have like 4 follicles, looking good, da da da. So you took when was the last time you took the Gonalef? And I'm like, Friday. He's like, so you didn't take it Sunday? Did you run out? Like, what happened? And I explained, so duh. So that kind of honestly set me back, and I'm kind of kicking myself right now because now I went back for another appointment Wednesday, just again to see how things are progressing, and one of the follicles shrunk down. So I fully believe that had I taken it the 4th night, things maybe would have kept progressing, but because I skipped a night, it really set me back, and the follicle just like shrunk down. So now I only have 3 follicles, which is still good, but I would have really rather upped my odds with 4, because that's what happened when I got pregnant with my daughter. I had 4 follicles. I've had 3 follicles in the past and it wasn't successful. So it really kind of like worries me now. It's all in God's hands, you know, like I don't control anything, unfortunately. I don't have control over this. So we will see what happens. So yeah, everything is progressing there fine. What did I want to tell you? I think, so when I went back Wednesday, the next steps are that I will be, today's Friday, the day I'm filming this. So Saturday, when you're watching this, I will be at the doctor's office getting the HCG, which means that that's what helps to put you into ovulation. It helps your body release the follicles so that I can be ready to inseminate Sunday, tomorrow, the day after you're watching this. So that's exciting. Yeah, so I made peace with the fact that, you know, I'm not getting to use the same donor that I had with my daughter. And then I got this message that kind of like threw me for a loop. So that's where we're leaving off today. And that's where we're going to pick up tomorrow. So something completely different happened. And so again, with the PSA, if you haven't watched the PSA that I did for Single Mothers by Choice, this will be a follow-up to that video. It's something new that I learned. It's something new that threw me for a loop and potentially like, well, it did kind of like rock my world last night when I got the message. So I'll fill you all in on that. But again, if you're new here and you are following this second journey, that's great. That's awesome. But also go back to my old videos for journey number 1, because there are things that are different for sure. Oh, one last thing. I want to kind of do a quick review before we go. A quick review of the clinic. So I love my doctor. I followed him. If you didn't watch that video, I'll link it. I followed him to this new clinic, this new practice that he started and he's in, which is awesome because it's close to my house and he's wonderful and like the staff is so nice, but they're a little bit like getting their stuff together, maybe because they're new. They're efficient. Like when I go in, I get seen quickly. They're polite, they're efficient. Everyone is like super chill and helpful. But when it comes to like paperwork, documentation, payments, things like that, a little like there are a couple of things that they kind of need to get their stuff together with, because I went and got blood work done, just like a full panel of stuff. So where they check your thyroid function, they check just like all your blood work, like your red blood cells, white blood cells, make sure everything is kind of like in top shape. And I brought in the papers, the results to give to them. And when I went back in for another appointment, like a few days later, like, oh, by the way, did you, the same nurse I handed the paperwork to, did you get those lab results back? Girl, 2 days ago, I came in and handed them to you. What did you do with them? You know, so things like that. So again, using your voice, because I think sometimes we all can get a little not all, but like some people, I'm not the most outgoing person. Sometimes if I'm new to a situation, once I get to know you, please, you can't shut me out. But like in new situations, I can be, I can step back and be a little bit more quiet. But I'm like, miss, I gave you that stuff. Like I try to stay on top of it again, because I want to be responsible. I want to respect everyone's time, and I want to respect my money and like get things done efficiently, and so I don't have to do them twice. Another thing too, I had to get my psych report and like other documents from the old office, because I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but in New York, if you haven't done a psychological evaluation, you cannot have your IUI. I don't know. That's just, I don't know if that's their policy or like a state law, but that's just how it is. Like I cannot proceed with the IUI unless there's a psych eval. I didn't have to do it again because I did it before, but they needed the records on file. So whatever, the first day, I signed a consent so that they could get it from the old office. I come back, they're like, oh, we didn't get those yet. Like, we're still waiting. I'm like, okay, well, I signed the consent. Okay. I go back again. Well, you're going to have to call them now because we still haven't gotten it. They're giving us a hard time. So sometimes like you calling will give them a push and whatever. I'm like, all right, I'll call the minute I leave the office. So I call, and the young lady on the other line was like very efficient and polite and helpful. She said, oh wait, but I faxed those, and she had the records. She had all the receipts to show me she did her job. So she said, you know, she got the confirmation from the fax machine. She told me the day and the time that everything went through. So thank God I hadn't left the outside of the building. Like I went back inside the building, and I went to the office, and I spoke to the receptionist at the front, and I said, excuse me, but did you get this fax from blah blah blah? And they're like, oh yeah, we just scanned it in. Girl. I said, yeah, because the nurse just told me that you guys didn't have it and I had to call, blah blah blah. So actually the old office had scanned it again when I called. They scanned it, they faxed it again for me, which was really nice. And they followed up with me afterwards to make sure that the office got it, which was really, really nice. And so I go back on Wednesday for my appointment, and she's like, yeah, so did you get that psych report? Did you get that stuff? I'm like, like, don't ask me a question if you haven't looked. Can you look in my chart in the computer? It takes 2 seconds for you to look, instead of harassing me, making me look like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, and like the other office, who's actually very efficient, doesn't know what they're doing. I was a little bit annoyed with that stuff. I'm like, listen, I have enough on my plate. I have enough going on in my life. I need you to get your stuff together. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. And she apologized, because I was just like, listen, don't. And she was a little bit like, you know, snooty about it. A touch of a smidge of an attitude about it. So I was like, don't make me look like I'm not doing. So when she called me today to follow up about something, she's like, oh, I want to thank you for being so on top of things. I'm like, yeah, but I wish you were on top of things. I wish you could get it together. So again, everyone is super nice, but when it comes, I don't like people to, you know, if things are not being done on my end or whatever, I don't mind being called out. But like when I am doing everything I'm supposed to, and especially the other office was really on top of their stuff and they're doing everything they're supposed to, don't come at me with like a little, you know, with like a touch of an attitude. Like I don't appreciate it when you're at fault, actually, you know, for not being on top of your game. Maybe just take a second and look in the computer. I just don't like people who don't do a good job sometimes. But they're polite and they're nice, and the doctor is great. I love the doctor. I would follow him anywhere. But his staff, I think, again, because they're new to the office, they're still adjusting to everything. I mean, literally, they just opened up months ago. So I think they're just trying to find their groove, and I'm sure they'll be fine, you know, in time. And hopefully they tweak those little things, because otherwise it's a fine experience, and like I'm in and out of there, and I feel like the doctor knows what he's doing. So hopefully the office themselves, the office staff, clerical staff, nursing staff, like they can get those little things under control. Otherwise, you know, very good experience. Anyway, I rambled about that, but I had to get that off my chest again to reiterate the fact that stay on top of your stuff, document everything, and politely call people out when they are not doing an efficient job. And if an office is really just constantly making major errors or wasting your time, especially when you're paying for things yourself, find another place if you can, because I know some places like don't have a lot of choice in terms of fertility clinics, but if you can, find another place to go. Now, on that note, I'm ending here. Don't forget to watch tomorrow. It's super important. It's something it really blew my mind. It was also very exciting for me to hear what I heard. So, yeah, check that out tomorrow, and wish me luck on my insemination tomorrow as well. Oh my God. It's so much money. Like, I just want it to work out for many reasons. Obviously, I want another baby, but obviously I'm on a budget, and I also just don't have like resources for days. You know, I just have limited resources financially. So hopefully it works out. So pray for me, send good vibes, good energy. I want to feel it from you guys, please. And I'll send you positive energy if you're on your journey as well. I wish you all luck wherever you are on your journey. So blah, blah, blah. I've been talking forever. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to watch. Bye.